Okay, I've started the recording so I can post it for others to look at. Share screen. All right, good. Can y'all see the screen okay?
I see it.
All right, good. All right, so tragedy comes from the Greek word for goat, I believe. Yeah, goat song. It's kind of weird. What's also a little bit strange is that the time of year when they put on these plays, these tragedies, was during the Dionysian festival. So it wasn't like you had year-round tragedies going on. Also, Athens, where tragedy emerged, had an amphitheater. Let's see if we can find a picture of it. Oh, here we go. The Theater of Dionysus in Athens. So it's an outdoor facility. Plays were put on in the day because at night there's not much light. It was hard to illuminate, and obviously it's just like almost too much light in the daytime. And it emerged during that century, basically 500 to 400 BC, as part of the flowering of Athens itself. And every year they would have a Dionysian festival in the spring. And of course, when you worship a god, you worship them in the way they want to be worshipped, with something identified with them. So how would you think you worship Dionysus? Oh, well, it's right there, right?
Getting drunk.
Yes, exactly. In every instance of the center of these festivals lay the extravagant sexual licentiousness, the waves which overwhelmed all family life in its venerable tradition. The very wildest beasts of nature were let loose here, including that detestable mixture of lust and cruelty, which always seemed to me the genuine witch's draught. Nietzsche. He was prone to florid prose, but there's something to that. And so you're celebrating the return of spring by getting drunk a lot and apparently making bad decisions, which is one of the reasons people get drunk, so they'll have an excuse to make bad decisions. But oh, by the way, who has a Dionysian type festival today? Springtime is coming.
Coachella?
Drunk. Yeah, New Orleans is known for its Dionysian festival. In fact, even one of the parades is specifically called Bacchus, which is the Roman Latin name for Dionysus. But it's all bacchanal, it's all Dionysian. And so, Catholicism had to bring in a lot of ancient culture in order to win over the ancients. And so rather than get rid of the Saturnalia, they christened it Christmas. Rather than totally get rid of the Dionysian festival, they call it Carnival. But the idea is that people need a release from their mundane, ordinary lives. And they need one that's structured in a way which doesn't overthrow society. So we have various types of Dionysian outlet. If your hometown does not happen to have a Mardi Gras, maybe everybody gets really excited about football and takes off their shirts and the guys usually paints their bodies blue or some other color, and they cheer, and it gives them a chance to lose their individuality in the general, merging with other people. That's why Individuals can be smart, but crowds are really, really stupid. Because it's just like a hive mind, we've given way to that. And according to Nietzsche, he believes that tragedy is a combination of the Dionysian, which is that merging of the personality with other people, losing yourself in the crowd, and also Apollo. What did we have? Yes. So Apollo, well, Dionysus has music, dissolves the individual through ecstasy, primordial unity, ecstasy through drunkenness. He says man is the work of art, by which he means the effect that we're trying to find in the Dionysian is on yourself. It's a change of your the way that you're dealing with the world. Apollo is the individual principle, the principium individuationis. And so with the merging of the Dionysian and the Bacchanalian, you have the group in the chorus, but you also have the stepping out of the individual. I don't know, did I put in there? Okay, a few things to add. I'll use this PowerPoint. So, a complete tragedy consisted of 3 one-act plays which tell a larger story. Each story is part of a bigger story. And they're about 1,000 lines long. Ish. They can be a little longer, a little shorter. Oh, there's a satyr play at the end, so it's a total of 4 plays. And the satyr play has satyrs. You know what a satyr is?
It's like a half fawn, half human kind of thing.
Yeah. It's also called a selenos. Looks like kind of like a centaur, but usually with 2 legs instead of 4. I thought they were donkeys. It says ears and tail resembling a horse, as well as a permanent exaggerated erection. So, again, with the kind of crass, it goes along well with the Dionysian festival, and they're famously drunk all the time. Let's see if I can find a picture. Okay, here's an ancient one. You can see the tail. Now this one has feet instead of hooves. Okay, that one has hooves.
Goats or something.
What's that?
I thought that like satyrs were like goats or something like that.
Yeah. It would make more sense.
Because the horns are kind of curly and they've got the beards.
That's what I keep seeing a horse, but yeah. Oh, they began to acquire goat-like characteristics because of the conflation with the Pans. Okay, so I guess originally Pan was a human/goat mix. A satyr was a human/horse horse mix. I still like the donkey for some reason. Oh, here we go. Satyr play. And the satyrs were on stage, had bawdy and obscene humor. The only one surviving is Cyclops by Euripides. I don't think I've ever taught that to this class, but I've taught it in some other classes. It's the story is that Odysseus lands on this island of the Cyclops and finds himself surrounded by satyrs who also got stuck there. And they're desperate because they haven't had any alcohol in forever. And so they help him with his quest to, blind the Cyclops and get off the island, but in very funny ways. It's like, Three Stooges type of stuff. 3-1-8 plays, 1,000-ish lines long, followed by a satyr play, which had some kind of, it was a relief from the intensity of the tragedy. When I was a kid, we would go to movies and they would have the movie, but first they would have a cartoon to kind of transition you. So this way you transition out. Now, originally the chorus was the theme. There were these group of people who were singing and dancing and telling a story from mythology. And that was what they were doing. And then one guy stepped out in front of the chorus and started to act. Anybody know who that was? Thespis, which is why some people still call actors thespians. That's another word for actor. And so he would have been the leader of the chorus. Who is the choragus. Agus means to lead. So you find it in a lot of stuff. Like pedagogue means a leader of a child. And it's got that ago in it. So anyway, the choragus was the person who put this together, often writing the music and the poetry, the songs that went with it, choreographing the actual dance that they put on. And it became more and more elaborate once Thespis came along. And first you have one actor about playing a part, and then you have more, not a whole lot more. They would have 2 or maybe 3 people interacting on the stage, but always this chorus in the background doing their thing. And they play a group role in the action. Do anybody watch South Park? They'll get all the townspeople together in the gym of the school, and they'll start saying rabble, 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 and then they'll go out and burn down something. Okay, well, that's a regular traditional Greek chorus. They're actually dangerous, right? They can do things in the action of the play, even though they play as, their role is a group role. It is a role. They are doing something in the play. And one of the stories of drama over the last 2,400 years is the gradual reduction of the chorus. Now, when we talk about a chorus, usually we're talking about the musical background. Like there were a lot of people singing in the background. Yeah, they were singing, but they were not the background. They still played a role. Okay, so things about the action, some general role that they play, villagers. They're there from the beginning to the end of that individual play. So that's important. They change from one play to the other, along with everything else. The chorus often changes. The characters are not as personal as in Shakespeare. For one thing, we don't get into their minds. We don't find out what they're thinking, not in Greek. Now, when we get Seneca in a moment, we'll find out that most of the stuff that Shakespeare has that adds to the Greeks is already there in Seneca. It's not like Shakespeare innovated this stuff. He just elevated it, as we say. So when we look at Orestes and talk about Hamlet, Hamlet's much more, he gives these asides, he goes into soliloquies. You know, we get into his mind a lot more. Orestes, we only know what he's thinking when he tells us what he's thinking, or rather, when he tells somebody else what he's thinking. We need a chart. I'm going to try that whiteboard. I don't know, what's this do? Maybe that'll work. Oh, how to get rid of that stuff. Okay, so you remember last time as we talked about Odysseus and his family, we also talked about Agamemnon and his family. So let's talk about that some more. And we will need a text box. Here we go. So we're talking about the kings of insert box. Those are Mycenae, if you prefer. And Mycenae was at one time the preeminent city in Greece. They had fabulous wealth. Archaeologists eventually found a gold mask there, and they called it the Mask of Agamemnon. But the founder of this line was a dude named Tantalus. He had a son named Pelops, and he decided to put the gods to the test to see if they were really all that divine. And so he invited them over for supper and killed his son, chopped him up, made him into, food, and tried to feed that food to the gods, who were mightily offended, as you might think. Really upset, except Demeter was already upset over missing her daughter and absentmindedly ate Pelops' shoulder. Anyway, they bring Pelops back to life, reassemble him, give him an ivory shoulder to replace the shoulder parts Demeter ate. And what did they do to Tantalus? You see it portrayed at the beginning of this play.
They kill him?
Yeah, but what do they do after they kill him? Does anybody remember? We're supposed to read this stuff.
I think they like somewhat revive him, but like he's like a spirit kind of.
Yes, he's in the underworld. And what do they do to him in the underworld?
It like put him in a pool of water and he has to like reach for something, right?
Right.
That he can
He's
grab.
in a pool of water, but what happens when he tries to drink?
When he tries to drink, the water recedes, and when he tries to eat, the branch is raised.
Right. It's very, here we go. Spirit of Tantalus. Who drags me from my place among the shades, where with dry lips I seek the flying waves? What hostile gods again shows Tantalus his hated place? So I don't know if they go full off into to stagnant pools, to rivers and waters, ever slipping by, to the fell trees that will not give me food. Let me go to my prison house, because this is even worse. There's food pressing up against his face, and when he reaches out for it to eat, it flies away. When he tries to get water, the water too flies away. And so what English word do we get from his name?
To tantalize?
Yes, something is just out of reach. You can't have it, but you can. It's almost there. You're almost there, but can't quite make it to that. There's also something going on here, kind of symbolic, as is often the case for the gods. So what have we learned is suitable human food? It goes back to Gilgamesh. Remember what the shepherd's giving. What does the priest give you at church?
Unleavened bread?
Bread and
Wine?
yes, which is what we gave Enkidu, remember, when he was coming to the city as part of his human nature. And of course, there's other stuff like olives, all the different things you eat, but bread and wine is human food. So the gods are condescending to eat human food. What do they usually eat and drink?
Nectar and ambrosia.
Yeah. But he's falling below the level of eating humans is something the animals do. It's right there in the opening of the Iliad, where the dogs and the birds are eating the dead bodies of the fallen heroes. And so the Greeks regard it with horror. It's not, they're not one of those societies that believes in eating human flesh. Now, we usually say cannibalism which was a word coined by Christopher Columbus. But until then, everybody throughout Europe had used the Greek word. Anthropo is human. Phagi means to eat. So anthropophagi was the Greek word that got over into Latin. It's even in English. I mean, that's an English word. We just don't use it anymore because Columbus caught our attention so much with his anthropophagus on the island of Canib. Oh, shit. What did I do? Here we go. Okay. So Tantalus is being tantalized. Pelops is ruling, and that's where we get the word Peloponnesian, right? I think that's right, but I could be wrong. But that is not the end of it. I need another place. Here we go. So ati is something we still need. That's what we're talking about today. Okay, so what is that word?
Meow ma.
Close. Meow. What's that letter there in the middle?
Is that an S?
Yes, it is a sigma. So it becomes an S. And we
Miasma.
end up with, what are the last two letters?
It's a miasma.
So that's a mu, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then at the end, I mean, the ones that look like our version should be easy for you guys. What's that letter?
It's an A.
Right, miasma. And what is the English word for miasma? Miasma? It's miasma. We just brought it over into English. That's an English word too, you just don't hear it much. It has to do with pollution, both physical, like you can talk about the miasmal mist over London, which is a combination of smoke and from coal and the infamous London fog. And it was deadly stuff. Lots of people died from it. But it can also be kind of a pollution on a moral level. So this act of killing his own son and trying to feed him to the gods leaves behind a miasma that's just hovering over the city, bringing it bad luck. Do you remember when Oedipus, any of you guys read Oedipus Rex in high school? Okay, so what starts him on his quest to figure out what happened back in the day, there's a miasma on the town and he's trying to lift it. What's wrong? Why are we not prospering the way that we should be? We must have a miasma. There's something of that in American culture. This tendency to think we are suffering because of the sins of certain of our people, and if we can just do something about it, then we can lift the miasma and we will once again prosper and flourish. So that's one term. Ati is related. It literally means blindness, but it's a kind of blind rage and searching for revenge where once you start the ball rolling of the first crime, then that crime calls for more crime to follow it. Okay, so Pelops has two sons. No, I'm the wrong generation. Atreus and what's his face? Thyestes. We don't need all that. Okay. Which one of these can I use for that? Yeah, drawing stuff is not my forte. I gotta say, that's not looking bad. I spend the whole time drawing my family tree. All right, so Atreus is the king after his father Pelops shuffles off this mortal coil. But Thyestes lusts for power. So he has an affair with Atreus' wife, gets her to give him the golden realm, which is the symbol of authority in Mycenae / Argus, and then challenges his brother, says, okay, why are you being the king? Whoever has the golden realm should be king. And he's like, well, I've got it, so naturally I'll go along with this contest in Agon. But then he loses because Thyestes stole it with the help of his wife. And so Atreus goes into exile for a while until they find out, the people of the town, what had happened. And then in anger, they throw out Thyestes and put Atreus into power. Okay, so he's back on the throne and he lives happily ever after, right? Is
No.
Atreus happy at the beginning of the play? What's his attitude at the beginning of the play?
He wants vengeance for being banished?
Yes. All he can think about is how his brother wronged him long ago. Now, they say the best revenge is to live well. That is not the theory of Atreus. Oh, stupid me. All right, we're watching these stories in the order that they occur mythically, not in the order that they were written. So Seneca is not even Greek. He's an early, well, not early. Where do I do the inserts? Ah, here we go. He's in the 1st century AD. He is a Roman senator. He is a Stoic philosopher. And he is also a tutor to Emperor Claudius's stepson. Anybody guess who that might be? Young Nero. He has a falling out with the stepfather, with Claudius, who banishes him. And then when Nero's mother kills off Claudius, traditionally she fed him poison mushrooms. And Seneca came back and wrote a play called Apocolocyntosis. Oops, I missed an O. Apocolocyntosis, which means the gordification of Claudius. The usual word they used was apotheosis, where you become a god. Like, Julius Caesar became a god after he died, and others who were great enough. So what happened to Claudius? He became a Gorgon. It's really, really, dancing on the grave of this guy. Now, this is a little unusual because he is a Stoic philosopher. Do you know anything about Stoic philosophy? Well, the number one rule of the Stoic, and we'll study them later, is don't get mad. He even wrote a book, The Ira, which regarding ire, regarding anger, and it turns you into an animal and you shouldn't be getting mad, but he got mad. He's a very complicated guy. And he's writing these plays while he's trying to ride herd on the young Emperor Nero, which is really hard to do. Eventually, Nero will cost him his life. But in the meantime, he's trying to be a good governor at the same time that the core of the empire, the emperor is mad, right? I mean, we developed this strong emperor as a way of administering a vast empire because it needs some kind of rational way of governing it. But what happens when the emperor is mad? And we've been going through that period in our own country this last 4 years. And, you kind of get used to the craziness, but it's not good for stable government. So anyway, his plays are full of these raving figures like Atrus, who wants really, really badly to be revenged upon his brother. So what kind of plot does he cook up?
He wants to murder Thyestes' son and feed him to him.
Yes. So one more generation. So far, we'll get to more next time. Oh, maybe I could just copy this. Oh, that's something. Okay, so Atrus has 2 young sons. Agamemnon and Menelaus. And in the meantime, Thyestes has been in exile. With 3 sons. The second one is Tantalus, right? This isn't the original Tantalus. He's named for his great-grandfather. Let's look. What's the name of the Plisthenes? Plis. Thyestes, Tantalus, and my personal favorite, boy. All right. And so how does Atrus go about getting Thyestes to come back to Argus? What's his method for luring him back?
I think he kidnapped his kids.
No, he that's later. Here they are, safely away from the city. How do we get him back where he's?
Does he bribe him with like power and land?
Well, not that. Just basically, I want to make up. It's been too long. We're still brothers. I am my brother's keeper after all. And let's just forgive and forget. But who's he send as his emissaries?
His kids?
Yeah, Agamemnon and Menelaus. And he even debates whether to tell them or not. He says they should be part of this to prove their loyalty to me. so that I'll know that they are my sons and not his. But if I tell them the full plot, they may not be as good an actor as I am. And so he does not tell them the truth about his plot. Nevertheless, people will blame them, even though they weren't participants. They weren't trying to kill him, but they'll blame them for their role anyway. Especially people on the Thyestes side of things. So, yeah, let's get to that. So Thyestes is scared, but he's drawn forward by his desire to be. He's been in exile and not really welcomed anywhere. So here we go. Atreus is telling us what he thinks in an aside. So it's not Greek. The Greeks didn't do this, but Shakespeare does it a lot. And there was a brand new English translation. Remember, Shakespeare knew little Latin and less Greek, but there was a brand new, fine translation of the Seneca plays that Shakespeare had access to. He might have even owned the book. And so he learned a lot of his tradecraft from Seneca rather than from the Greeks, who they didn't have those available. Those become available in later centuries as they're, rediscovered and eventually translated. To see my brother's face, how glad I am. Now there's something else that Seneca uses that Shakespeare picks up on a lot: irony. So why does Thyestes think that Atreus is happy to see him?
I think they have like a party for him.
Yeah, I'm so happy to see you. And it's because he loves me and he's forgiven me. But what do we know? Because we've heard these other asides. He's happy to see him because at last the wild beast is within my walls. Lo, I behold him with his hated blood. No longer clasp my knees, nay, seek my warm embrace. You too, the props of age, so young, my children, cling around my neck. And thou put off thy raiment mean and coarse, so spare my sight, put on these royal robes like mine, and gladly share thy brothers round. This greater glory shall at last be mine. To my illustrious brother I give back his heritage. One holds a throne by chance, to give it up is normal. I'm going to give up half of my power to you. And so they take Thyestes away. He's, they're going to shave him, bathe him, wash his hair, give him a nice haircut, put on nice robes. They loved olive oil. They would, douse you down with olive oil and rings and nice shoes and everything. And so he's having a spa day. Meanwhile, what's going on with the kids?
Atreus kills them.
Yes, he kills them in a very gory, scene. Although we don't see the scene in classic, but they describe it in detail, so you could put this on, right? And so they're dead, but Thyestes doesn't know it. And he says, come to the banquet. And when he drinks the wine, what's he actually drinking with the wine?
Poison.
No. The blood of his children. Yeah. And when he eats the food, what's he actually eating?
The meat from his children.
Right. And then at last, Thyestes starts to want the boys with him. Now, enough of this feasting me by myself. I want my boys here. And Atreus again gives us one of these ironic statements. Oh, consider them to be in your bosom already and to be there forever. And he says, no, I really need to see them. He says, one last dish. And they bring back one of those pans with the cover over it. They lift the cover up, and they're the boys' heads, the 3 heads. And he says, do you recognize your sons? And he says, I recognize my brother. And so finally it's clear. And Atreus doesn't want him dead. He wants him suffering. So off he toddles into the wilderness to once again wonder, but this time knowing that his sons are dead and that he ate them. So that's why Tantalus has been brought up from the dead to inspire Atreus to repeat the crime of his grandfather. That's another part of Ati, is we tend to repeat the same crime over and over again, not realizing, it didn't do so much good last time. Okay, so does this make Atreus happy? At the very end, when he sees his miserable brother leave. Crime finds a limit when the crime is done, not when avenged. Even this is not enough. Into the mouth I should have poured the blood warm from the wombs. Thou shouldest have drunk the blood of living sons. My hate betrayed itself through too much haste. I smote them with the sword. I slew them at the altar, sacrificed a voting offering to the household gods. From the dead trunks I cut away the heads into the tiniest pieces, tore the limbs. Some in the boiling pot I plunged, some I bade should be put before a slow flame placed, so barbecue. I cut the flesh from the still living limbs. I saw it roar upon the spindle split. With my own right hand I plied the fire. All this the Father might have done better. All of my vengeance falls into nothingness. So is he happy? No. It's still not enough. Ironically, what would have actually made him happy?
Thyestes staying.
What's that?
Thyestes staying rather than leaving.
Yeah, well, if it had been real, that scene where they hug and cry and all that, if he had really done that, if he had really forgiven his brother, that would have made him happy. It would also have been endangering, because who knows if Thyestes would have tried this old trick again. But, if you want to get over being angry at somebody, one of the best ways to do it is to actually do something good for them. That it actually helps you forgive them, although it's really hard to do, right? Do most of us want to do that? No. All right, so Thyestes leaves, and he will have one more son born for the purpose of revenge. And who is that son? It is Aegisthus. And who is he? Anybody remember Aegisthus? Where have we seen Aegisthus before? What was Zeus talking about at the opening of the Odyssey? Was my, what fools these mortals be? Among them, Olympian Zeus, the father of the gods and men, was first to speak. For in his heart he thought of noble Aegisthus, whom far-named Orestes, far-famed Orestes, Agamemnon's son, had slain. Thinking on him, he spoke to the immortals and said, "Look you now, how ready mortals are to blame the gods. It is from us, they say, the evils come, but even of themselves, of their own blind folly." Guess what word that is? Ati. Remember we talked about Ati? Have sorrows beyond that which is ordained, even as now Aegisthus, beyond what was ordained, took to himself the wedded wife of the son of Atreus, and slew him on his return, though he knew well of sheer destruction, seeing that we spake to him of it before. Sending Hermes, the king cited Argiphantes, that he should come neither slay the man nor woo his wife, for from Orestes shall come the vengeance for the son of Atreus when he has come to manhood and longs for his own land. So Hermes spoke, but for all his good intent, he prevailed not upon the heart of Aegisthus, and now he has paid the full price for all. So why didn't Aegisthus heed the warning of Zeus and Hermes?
Revenge for his father?
Yes. Maybe I will have to die, but these people are responsible for the death of my brothers and for the grief of my father. So it doesn't matter that they warn me. Maybe I'll die, but it'll be worth it because I'll take them with me, or take Agamemnon with me. So he blamed. Remember I said people would blame? Well, he's the people. He has one mission in life, one thing to accomplish, that is to revenge. And normally, if possible, it would be nice to have this revenge on Atreus, but Atreus is dead. Oh yeah, we need to mark these off as we kill them. So at this point, Tantalus is dead. Pelops is dead. Although he seemed to have, I don't remember anything bad happening after being killed and eaten, of course. Atreus has died. Thyestes has died. And so these are the ones who are left alive. All right. Oh, let's talk about the theme of revenge in movies. So these Senecan plays with their plots of revenge are very popular. Does anybody remember Titus Andronicus by Shakespeare? Widely regarded as his worst play, but they actually made it into a movie a few years ago. It has cannibalism. And so naturally, who do you want to star as your orchestrator of the cannibalism? So who is that?
Does it say on the title? I mean, on the
Yes. Can you read
Anthony
it?
Hopkins.
Right. And what's his most famous role?
I don't follow movies. I don't know.
I'm having an old friend for dinner. Quid pro quo, Clarice.
Or Silence of the Lambs.
Right. Silence of the Lambs. He's Hannibal Lecter, Hannibal the Cannibal. So if we ever get this movie made, we definitely want Anthony Hopkins to play the role of Atrus. Does anybody watch Gotham a few years ago? All right, so you know the Penguin, right? Hold on, I need to reshare with computer sound. Okay, can you see the screen?
Yeah.
All right, so yeah, he's found his family. He's found his father and his stepmother and his stepsister and brother. Only his stepmother has killed his father, and so he wants some revenge. He has been kind of good Oswald for the last several weeks, and now suddenly he is back to being Penguin, but nobody knows it for sure yet.
The Hyundai Tucson, from the brand with more 2020 IIHS Top Safety Awards than Honda.
But network TV.
How is it? Not too gamey.
Overcooked.
Try the other joint. It is much more tender.
It's the same.
Still, beats my slut mother's goulash, no?
Where are the children? Ring the bell again.
I doubt they'll hear it.
You look different.
You noticed. Yes, I'm doing my hair a different way.
Charles? Sasha? Where are they?
I found the sherry decanter, Grace. The one with poison in it that you used to kill my father.
What on earth are you talking about?
You should have thrown it away. Guess you're a little too mean to waste good poison, huh? Don't go.
Charles! Sasha, help!
They won't come.
Where are they?
You thought they tasted the same. But Sasha...
No.
Definitely more tender.
No!
In my opinion.
No!
You said you were innocent.
All right. So Sasha, definitely more tender. Do you see that? But this goes straight, this is straight out of Seneca, right? He's using all the irony. They won't come, they won't hear you. Why? Because they're dead. So right, this stuff has a long, Seneca has a long shadow in popular culture. We're still, I mean, that's only 3 or 4 years old. That Gotham thing, they're still, you know, rewriting Seneca to put him into stuff. Let's go ahead so I have more time with other stuff next time. And how do I do this? Oh well. So back at the time of Pelops, is that right? No. At the time of Atrus, There's a king with a problem. His name is Tyndareus. Well, let's not kill him off just yet. And he is the king of the city of Sparta. And he has a wife named Leda. That is very beautiful and attracts the attention of Zeus. Crap. We're running out of room. I can't remember. Okay. So anyway, Zeus comes upon Leda in the form of a swan. He has the sex with her. And crap. Here we go. They have, she lays eggs, out of which are born Helen and I think Pollux. Also, she has children with her husband. Clytemnestra. It's a really big, long name. There we go. And Castor. Okay, so Castor and Pollux are these demigods, and they run off to do demigod hero shit. And after they die, they share divinity. So one is in Hades one day while the other one is in the heavens, and then they swap places the next day. That's how close they were to each other. But because they're off doing hero stuff, Tyndareus doesn't have an heir for his throne. So what deal does he work out with his good friend Atreus?
Marries his daughter to Agamemnon.
And the other daughter to?
Menelaus.
Yeah. So Agamemnon winds up with, I'm going to have to put her down here because we're out of room. Clytemnestra in Menelaus winds up with Helen. And Agamemnon stays and rules over Argos, while Menelaus goes to rule over Sparta. And so what Menelaus regards as all his stuff. This is my city, my kingdom. Helen might have a different opinion. This is my stuff. He comes waltzing in here and takes over like he knows what he's doing. And so that may be part of why she ran off with Paris in the first place. Meanwhile, back in Argos, Agamemnon and Clytemnestra have several kids. I guess we have to return. I need to look up how to spell Iphigenia. Okay, this guy. So Iphigenia is a daughter. Then there is a son, Orestes. And there is another daughter. Electra. Okay. I think our chart is complete except for the killing, killing people. So let's see, Castor and Pollux go off to do hero stuff and basically don't matter after that. Eventually they die, so cross them off. Tyndareus and Leda die. Leaving Helen and Clytemnestra and Agamemnon and Menelaus and Aegisthus. And so Agamemnon and Clytemnestra start having these offspring. Meanwhile, Paris comes to visit Menelaus, runs off with Helen. Menelaus wants revenge, and this is all about the cycle of Ati, right? The same thing that happens with this generation about the adultery, it repeats down here. Helen having adultery with Paris, but also Clytemnestra committing adultery with Aegisthus. And the reason for that was this. When the Greeks prepared to set sail with their 1,000 ships to go back and reclaim Helen, they needed an augury. And so they went out and they were looking around to see if there's a sign, and they see an eagle swoop down and grasp a pregnant bunny in its talons and fly off. And so the interpretation is that we're the eagle and Troy is the fat pregnant bunny that's full of riches for us if we just go and sack it. Unfortunately, the goddess of protecting babies was Artemis, and she put a hex upon the 1,000 ships so they couldn't set sail. And in order to lift this curse that she's put on him, Agamemnon will have to sacrifice one of his children. And so he sacrifices Iphigenia. Well, this is another one. Do you remember Muterect and Vaterect? You know, who's the primary parent, the mother or the father? So Agamemnon thinks he is. But who actually had Iphigenia, nursed her, and had been the one raising her all these years?
Clytemnestra?
Clytemnestra. And she's kind of pissed off. You will find, guys, that when you get married, if you wind up killing one of the kids, your wife is going to be very upset with you. And so while he's gone for 10 years, she is nursing hatred in her heart. And who shows up also hating Agamemnon?
Augustus.
Yes. Let's see if this will work. So Aegisthus comes to town, and I'm sure it was, oh, I'm Agamemnon's cousin. And after a while, they, start to, I'm not sure if they were attracted first, or if it was the hate that made them attract each other, revenge sex. Oh, you hate him? I hate him too. You know what would really piss him off? If we had an affair. And then you know what would really piss him off more? If we killed him. And so that brings us to our next play, which we'll pick up next period. In these are like the Star Wars chapters 4, 5, and 6. They were actually the ones written first. And so you have to decide, do we do them in order of the story or do we do them in order that they were made? And so we have gone forward in time to episode 1. But then next time we will go back to these earlier stories, the ones that were made first, but were actually set afterward. So basically what Seneca did was come along and make a prequel. He said, oh, these are good plays. I think I'll make a prequel to them, which sets it all up. So we'll read Agamemnon, Libation Bearers in the Eumenides, which will be the sole surviving trilogy of Greek tragedy. And then we'll talk about Xenophanes and the pre-Socratics. Crap, I left my books in Ruston, so y'all will have to help me out. I didn't think about this till just now, but maybe I can get them when I go home. All right, any questions? I know we're a little early, but I've kind of run out of stuff to talk about.
Another thing about the research paper thing for the outline, could it be like bare bones, basically like what we want to talk about, but we don't know what we want yet, or does it have to have something like, this is what this person invented, how is it relevant today? We have this version today. Or can it be introduced?
What are you writing about again?
Hippocrates School of Medicine or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you'll develop it, but mainly want to see that it's narrow enough. I don't need to know the whole outline if you're still developing it. If you do know it, just put that in there. But you want a tight focus for the paper. So what I have a lot of times is somebody will want to write about religion in the ancient world. Oh my God. How about a paper on religion in America? It would be about the same, right? So you have to pick. Like Judaism, or I want to write about one aspect of Judaism, like the Essenes, so you have to narrow it down. It's not that it's a bad topic to start with, it's just too wide and you have to narrow it. So I just mainly want to make sure that you have a narrow enough topic and that you can find your sources. I should probably save this. All right, other questions? Do you have Seneca? So we now have a file on the House Tentalides. All right, well, I will let you guys go. I'll see you next time. I think this is the first day we got out early, so I don't know. I must have plowed through. I think I said everything I wanted to say. Just plowed through it quicker. I should probably make y'all discuss, but I didn't prepare anything, so I'm just going to let you go. Stop share. Stop recording. Oh, what's it? All right. See y'all next time. Have a nice weekend. Don't get COVID.